Well, Coach, any further assessments after watching the film? Whenever you did, Sunday, Monday, whenever.
Yeah, no, I think my assessment, during and right after the game was pretty accurate. Simply not good enough. Plenty of responsibility passed around, and some things we have to do better, especially when we're playing people like Tulane. Just wasn't good enough. Didn't play well enough, didn't execute well enough. The basic fundamentals and techniques of what we're trying to do. Didn't put them, uh, in as good of a position to be successful as we should have. I think there's some adjustments could have been made, on both sides of the football, and that's on us. But we got to execute some of the basic things better. At the end of the day, I think, as a play caller, when you call something, on either side of the football, and it doesn't work, it spooks you a little bit, and sometimes you just got to keep going at it and correct the mistakes you're making. But a lot of things we got to do better, and are going to have to do better moving forward. And we will. And our kids will come out. We'll attack this week, and we'll get better during the bye. We'll get healed up a little bit, and we'll move on to East Carolina and put together a great plan, and our kids will bounce back, and we'll make the best of the situation.
So, how much of a factor do you think it is that their defensive coordinator had been at Army, that he was really familiar with option style football? He was the co-DC at Army in 2020, which was the last time Navy was shut out. How much of that was a factor, his knowledge and his ability to put together a plan?
Well, I thought they had a good plan, Wags. It wasn't an elaborate plan. It was pretty straightforward and basic. But they executed it really, really well, and we didn't on the offense side of the football. And so it wasn't like it was something that we weren't prepared for. It hadn't seen before. It was pretty basic, straightforward. But they did it with really good players, and the players executed the plan really well. And on the flip side of that, we didn't.
So, considering how well he knows the option, do you feel that's a game where you go with the wrinkles, the wing T stuff, maybe not as much option, more wing T stuff? And I thought about this long and hard. I'm guessing that, and I'll ask him on Wednesday, but I'm guessing it's hard for Coach Cronick to unfold his full game plan when you can't get a first down. It's hard to set things up when you're 3 and out.
Yeah, it's hard to get into a rhythm as a play caller, and like I said, sometimes you call something that should work and it doesn't. You get a little bit spooked, and so you're reeling a little bit. You're searching, and then you get behind, and you're trying to make some things happen, and sometimes bad things happen when you get put in that position. I think the thing for us, I talked about it a couple weeks ago after the Rice game, is we've got to be able to stay on track. We've got to be okay with getting 3 or 4 yards and being in 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6. When you look at the second downs from the game of the 17, I think we were on track 5 of the 17 snaps, on second down. So to be in 2nd 9, 10, 11, 12 plus is a bad recipe for us. So we've got to be better on 1st and 10. We've got to be able to take what people are giving us and be okay with not hitting explosives, every 3 or 4 plays. So we got to be a little more patient, and we got to take what people give us.
So obviously, when Blake went out, I mean that possession had actually started to move the ball and got into Tulane territory. He had a 15-yard run and then the 9-yard run on which he got hurt, and just like kind of the offense was deflated thereafter. That's another thing that I would imagine you're talking about, is that if you have to change quarterbacks, which is going to happen over the course of a season, it shouldn't cause the offense to fall apart.
No, it shouldn't. Like I said after the game, Braxton's really, really talented. He's done some good things for us, and he's a guy that we should be able to win with. But he's got to take better command of the offense, and things shouldn't change. When he goes in there, and he's a sophomore now. He's played a lot of snaps for us. He's had a lot of practices under his belt. But yeah, we got down, their side of the field, inside the 40 twice, and didn't convert on a 4th and 2. Didn't convert on a 4th and 4. We dropped the ball there on both of those situations, and so against a team like that, when you get down there, you've got to be able to convert in those situations to get points, and just weren't able to do that in the first half.
Thanks. I'll pass it off.
Scott Wyckoff. Coach, when you take a step back and look over the last month, when you look at some of the times when the team has struggled, both offensively and defensively, is there a common denominator or a common thread that you're really focused on going into these last 3 games of the season?
Well, we struggled when we hadn't gotten off to a good start. That's one thing that you look at. We got ourselves in a hole early, a couple of those games, especially Notre Dame, and really all 3 of those losses, and weren't able to recover. And so we can't get into panic mode when that happens. We can't flinch as a staff or as a team. And then when you get in the hole against a team like Notre Dame or a team like Tulane, and you turn the ball over, it's tough to overcome those things, Scott. So we got to execute better. We got to take better care of the football. We got to get off to a better start early in the game.
And you're talking potentially about 2 teams that are both in the discussion for postseason college playoffs. With your team, the lessons they learned, is this a team that you think learns lessons from experiences like that they've had against powers this season, like Tulane and Notre Dame?
Yeah, I certainly hope so, Scott. I think that one thing about these guys is they're able to handle adversity really, really well, better than you'd expect sometimes. And this team has a lot of pride. I think feeling's a little bit hurt right now, as it should be. We're upset and we're disappointed, and the only way to get over that is go back to work and go get the next one. And that's where our focus is going to go. Take this game, and there's a lot to learn from it all around. Coaches, players, everybody. We all got to be better. And we'll find a way to do that. We're going to work our tails off as a staff. I know our players are going to come out and they're going to go to work. And we're going to fix the things that we can fix, and we're going to go attack the next one.
One of the awesome coaching issues to have when you have 7 wins in 10 games is, and a lot of them with a lot of points, is that you really haven't had to call on the field goal team to make some critical kicks or things of that sort, the way you've been moving the ball. How is your confidence in the special teams right now from that standpoint as you move into these 3 games?
Yeah. Not bad. I think Nate's had some ups and downs this year, and he dealt with some injuries early on in the season. I think he's in a good place right now. I think he's practiced much better the last couple of weeks. So it certainly helps in my level of confidence when our field goal unit gets called on. There's certain situations we're going to be pretty aggressive on 4th down, and we get down there in the red zone. And so, I want to score touchdowns, not field goals. There's times where you got to kick it, and I feel good about Nate being able to do that.
How about the emergence of Griffin Willis over the last several weeks along the defensive line as a sophomore, and what you've seen from him?
Yeah, been really pretty pleased with Griff. Moving him from nose to 3 technique, and his ability mentally to handle that change, and has made very few mistakes in that move. He's a sturdy dude, plays really hard. He's going to continue to get better and better, but been really, really pleased. I thought that was a good move that we made in moving him to 3 technique, and I think it's helped us the last 2 weeks. Obviously they rushed for 200 yards, but I think you look at that. We got a little worn down in the 4th quarter. A lot of the yardage was some quarterback scramble stuff in the second half. But he's been sturdy in there. I've been really pleased with the way that he's played. And our D-line in general, been pleased. It hurt losing Justin Reed, on Saturday. And hope to get him back for East Carolina. But he's one of our best players in there. We missed him Saturday for sure.
Thanks, Coach.
Joe Miller.
Coach, you mentioned some of the issues getting in long situations, and a couple times, I think it was back-to-back times, you had a 2nd and 8 or a 2nd and 9, and then you had false start penalties that moved you back out to 2nd and 14. It seemed like that was a little of a problem the first couple of weeks, then it kind of cleaned itself up. Now, could sort of speculate maybe because it was Braxton in there, different sort of cadence, but what have you seen the last couple of weeks with the false start penalties? It seems like they've been hitting you at the worst times. Not that it's ever a good time for those folks. Yeah.
Yeah, no question. 3 procedural penalties on Saturday, 4 pre-snap penalties. One was a substitution penalty, which You could argue it was not a good call, but nevertheless, you can't have it, and like the two of those were the cadence issues, with Braxton. Like we talked about, he's got to take command of the offense, and this guy's got to be able to hear him. He's got to make sure our guys' hands are down, and so two of those are on him, and I know he'll get that cleaned up and fixed. Probably a little bit of nerves, and another quarterback coming in sometimes, and the cadence is slightly different for those guys. But yeah, it can't happen. It's unacceptable for us, and to have those negative plays. You're right. One time it's 2nd and 7 goes to 2nd and 12. That's a huge difference. Now we're off track entirely. So those are killers. Just can't happen for us.
What's the plan for this week as far as, is it self scouting? Is it more recruiting? What's the sort of game plan for this week for you guys?
It's all of that. I mean, a hard look at ourselves, obviously, and attacking things that we need to get better at, things we need to clean up. So we've got to get a head start on East Carolina. Obviously, it's a good East Carolina football team, and I haven't dove into them yet. I'm really looking at us right now more than anything. But I know they've won 3 in a row. I know they've scored about 45 points a game the last 3 games, and over 500 yards of offense, 200 plus rushing in those games. And Blake does a great job with their defense. They know how to defend what we do, and so it's going to be a huge challenge for us. So we got to get a head start, in East Carolina. But it's the self scout. It's getting back to the basics and the fundamentals, and we'll recruit hard this week as well with some coaches on the road toward the end of the week.
I wanted to ask about that because Scott sent out an email yesterday, kind of all these other schools sort of shuffling here in the final weeks and trying to figure out everything that's going on in college football. But for you guys, has the calendar changed much from what you have done from this year to the last couple of years?
No.
One other thing from going forward from the perspective of for East Carolina in a couple weeks, as far as the practice schedule, it sounds like you're not worried about Army yet, so it's going to be all focused on East Carolina these next couple weeks.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm good.
Wags.
So what's Blake's situation and how do you handle that? Some people might say, well, rest him and make sure he's 100% healthy for Army, but you got to beat East Carolina. You got to get your mojo back offensively. You got to get your confidence back before you play Army. So in that regard, you'd want him to play. Where do you think he's at?
Yeah, I think it's really Wags, kind of a day-to-day deal right now. Obviously, we got to use this week to get some of our guys healed up. He's certainly one of those guys, and we'll evaluate it as we go. But I don't want Blake out there if he's not healthy and confident, and so got to work through some things there. And to be totally honest with you, I'm not sure. I know where we're at today. I don't know where we're going to be out here in a couple of days. So it's kind of a day-to-day deal for us.
So on that note, at the beginning of the season, back in preseason, you and Coach Cronick were saying there was not much separation between Blake and Braxton, and you felt you had 2 quarterbacks you could win with. But, here recently, especially on Saturday, it looks like there's a significant separation between Blake and Braxton. Do you have to try to infuse Braxton with some confidence? And, I mean, it just, like you said, it didn't seem like he took control of the offense. He seemed somewhat tentative, especially running the ball. The fumble was inexcusable. That was not Navy-type ball security. Kind of your thoughts there.
Yeah. Well, we've got to be able to help Braxton as well. On the fumble, we lose leverage on the 4 technique there. He should never been out there in the first place. But he's got to hold on the football. He's got to make good decisions. And, seeing him run this offense at a high level in practice and scrimmage situations. And like I keep telling you, he's got the ability to do that, but he's got to go play with confidence. He's got to take command of things, and we've got to help him be able to do that. But he's a talented young man. He's done some really good things. But at the end of the day, you got to have the it factor when you're on the field. And you got to play with confidence, and you got to inspire the guys around you and take control of the offense. And that's what we expect from him. And he's got to do a better job of that. We got to help him do a better job. The guys around him got to help him as well.
So when you look at the output and the inability to get many first downs, your initial instinct, I've watched part of the game, but not every single play, but you would think that you got dominated at the point of attack. Was that the case? I know that Tulane defensive front was very impressive. Was that the case? They pushed you back, knocked you around?
Yeah, that was part of it. We certainly didn't win at the line of scrimmage. The thing that you see when you watch film is, and it's been a little bit of an issue for us when we haven't played well offensively, is just simply not maintaining or gaining leverage on our blocks, and it's a problem for us right now. It's something that we've addressed, and we've gone out really hard, and we've got to be better fundamentally. We got to take better steps. We got to be able to anticipate, what the defense is doing a little bit better. We got to carry out our fakes. We got to get to the pitch key. We got to read the right guys. There's a lot of things that we should be doing better. 10 games into the year, some mistakes that we keep making. So we've got to go at that really hard this week and get some of those things fixed.
You mentioned Justin Reed going out. There was numerous players that left the game at some point. I wasn't able to keep track of who came back and who didn't, but Brandon Chapman left the game. Kyle Jacob. How did you come out of that injury-wise? And is any of that considered long-term, possibly missing the next game?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, Jay Reed's day-to-day right now. Chap's fine. Kyle's fine. Kyle's knee locked up on him a little bit. That's something that's happened to him the last couple of years. He's okay. Chapman got hit in the back. Just took a blow in the kidneys, it looked like, but he was able to come back. Justin kind of tweaked his groin, his oblique, during the week of practice, and toughed it out on Saturday, and he was only able to go 9 or 10 snaps. And so he already feels better. And again, he's kind of a day-to-day for us right now, but expect him to be ready to go for East Carolina.
Thanks.
Thanks, Wags.
Max, here's a little note for you. If we can win the last 3 games, that would give us 10 wins. Only 5 teams in Navy history have won 10 or more games in the season. So still a lot to play for. Scott Wyckoff.
I like the positive vibes there, Strauss.
Yes, sir. Scott Wyckoff.
Yeah, Coach, what makes Rayon such a good gunner? We know his skill set, but why is it he is just so good? I think Scott might have said if was an All-American spot for a gunner, it would definitely be Rayon Lane.
No question. We say he's the best gunner in the country all the time. It's the skill set, obviously, Scott, but he's competitive as heck, and he takes a lot of pride and running down there and making that tackle. They watched Saturday's game. They were double teaming a bunch, still making the play. They were holding him. They were pulling him from behind. It just takes a lot of pride in his role on special teams. He's been tremendous the last 2 years, but I think it's the skill set and just his competitive nature,
What does that do for the rest of the team when they see a leader like Rayon, who is so good at his position on the field, out there on teams doing what he does?
I think it's huge. See a guy like that plays every snap on defense go out there and take tremendous pride. I think it lifts the guys around him up. I think it makes the rest of those guys take a little more pride. Not that we don't take pride in our special teams. It's a huge emphasis for us, and Coach Brown does a great job with those units. Our guys know how important they are, and that's why you see a lot of starters on those units. But it's big to see a guy like that playing with the kind of effort that he plays with, knowing that he's covering a punt, he's about to go and have to cover a post route, and do some other things. So it's big.
Going into this bye week, have you been pleased with the way the team and the overall programs handled the first couple bye weeks of the season?
Yeah, I have. The preparation for us has been good all year. I thought, after the Rice game, the week we had, it was a little solemn. I thought, I tried to get the message out that we need to enjoy coming out here and going to work. The energy's got to be better and all those things. And I think they were just ticked off. But this past week, I thought going into Tulane, and I thought it was exactly what I wanted it to be from a work standpoint, from a focus, attention to detail, and the energy was good. our guys were getting the work done, but enjoying practice, which is what I want. We're going to do hard things, but it doesn't mean we can't enjoy the process of what we're doing around here. But I thought it was one of our better weeks, Scott, which is puzzling that we played the way that we did for me. Tulane had a lot to do with that, but what I've learned as a coach is you want to prepare as well as you possibly can. You want to attack the week, but I've had weeks of where I thought the preparation wasn't great, and we went out and played really well. And I've had weeks where I felt like we did everything we possibly could, and you felt great about the preparation, and you go out and you don't play really well. So it's kind of puzzling to me, but I thought the preparation was good. I thought our kids' headspace was in the right place, and so you just never know. You can prepare as well as you can, and then you go play the game. And but obviously, we got to play it better.
As we approach assignment day for your seniors, how important does that put things into perspective for you? Part of your reasons coming to the academy and the role you take as the head coach at a service academy.
Yeah, it's important. It's always a really cool deal. We celebrate their service assignments, after practice, and it's awesome to celebrate with those guys. And majority of our guys get exactly what they want from a service standpoint, and so it's awesome. It just reminds you of the role you have here as a coach, just how important it is to pour into these guys on a daily basis. To help them be better leaders and help them to handle adversity better and respond in adverse situations. And it's all things you learn from football. It just becomes that much more important here because you know what those guys are going to do when they leave here.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thanks a lot, Kyle.
Previous two games, maybe add coming off the bye, was Memphis and Charlotte. Two pretty good games. Joe Miller.
Yeah, just one last one from me, Coach. Shane Reynolds, last couple games gotten in a lot more playing time in sort of the crucial some situations. What has he done to earn some more playing time here down the stretch?
Yeah, done some really good things in practice, and then when he has gotten snaps in games, he's done some really good things as well. He gives us a little bit bigger body. Some certain personnel packages we can get him in there, and instead of having 170-pound slot blocking linebacker, you get Shane there, he can do some of those things. But I've been impressed with him as a ball carrier too, and a blocker from the B-back position. So he's a guy that's really talented. He's a bigger body, and he's done some really good things. He's going to continue to get better and better.
Awesome, thank you.
Anyone have anything else for Coach? Go ahead, Wags.
So Reynolds, is he kind of now a hybrid snipe and fullback?
Yeah, there's certain personnel groupings where we can use them at one or the other, Wags.
So obviously early in the season when you're off to 6-0 start and everything was going great, we talked about don't choke on the sugar, but now you've got an opposite. When you've lost 35-0, it's doom and gloom among the fans. Now you've got a different challenge in terms of, you talk about moving on always next game, but I mean, it's hard for the kids around campus. They're probably hearing from fans and parents and all that about how bad things are.
Sure. It's always the way it is, right? So we talk to them all the time. When things are going well, drown out the noise. When things aren't going well, drown out the noise. And, it's all about us and how we respond. And like I keep saying, our kids have handled that really, really well. We got to handle it well too, as coaches. And so we got to get our mojo back this week. We got to get our confidence back. And listen, we've got a good football team. We do things the right way, and we execute at a high level. I think we can play with anybody. But when we don't, the margin for error around here is really, really small. And so our guys have to understand that it's not just about the effort that we play with. The fixation of detail has to be elite as well. And that's what should separate us, right? Our intangibles alongside of our discipline, and our fixation to the details. And it wasn't good enough on Saturday. And that's the result, that you're going to get when you're playing a really good team like Tulane.
So a noon kickoff the day after Thanksgiving, less than ideal. I would imagine that alters the normal plan. Usually you try to have some sort of Thanksgiving dinner on Thursday after practice for the kids. And I'm guessing obviously you're going to be down in Greenville on Thanksgiving now.
Yeah, we'll have our Thanksgiving meal on Wednesday evening. I believe that's the schedule. And so we'll kick things up. And, Monday will be like a Tuesday practice and try to keep it as normal as we can.